Hey everybody, Christopher here. I got an interesting question in response to a Pony Smasher video. If you're not familiar with Pony Smasher, it's the YouTube channel of the director of Annabelle Creation, Lights Out, Shazam, and upcoming Shazam 2. And he did a video on if you're an introvert, how are you a director? And he had some insights onto how he feels he's able to direct with his introverted personality. Somebody else asked me in response, I had posted that video somewhere else. I'm not an introvert, but how do I direct when I'm not, as confident with or sure of the direction that I'm going in? How do I lead people to create a film? It's a very difficult thing to do. And they said that they'd turn to animation because they had trouble with that, although they would want to maybe give it another try. And I thought, okay, that's fair. That's a good question to ask. And I think they probably did the right thing by going into animation. If they come back later to directing people and directing a crew, then I think animation will probably help them gain a little more confidence in doing that. The reason I say that is animation, you have to work everything out ahead of time. And animation, in a way, is working things out. Even if you're not a big pre-production person, if you're just trying different things out, you can still make corrections, just like you can still do another take. The difference is that with animated characters, they're not on a clock. The crew isn't standing around waiting, all that sort of thing. So when you're directing them, you have to know what you're doing that day and lead those people to it. And that all comes down to vision. Now, vision, I think I've talked about before. I think some people have a very I want to say, they see it as a histrionic term for a director to make. Like, oh, but that's not my vision. No, you don't understand my vision as an artist. No, vision is just having a clear vision of what you want to see up on the screen, and then you can make a plan to get there, get that result. So vision is very important in being a director, and I think so when a director says that's not my vision, again, like I said, that's seems very histrionic, but what they're actually saying is, look, there's a plan. Everything fits together in a coherent way. If we start making deviations from that vision in certain places, it's going to throw everything out of whack, because everything's connected in a movie, in a story. Everything that starts has to have a payoff, the old Chekhov's gun thing. If you show a gun in your movie in the first act, then you have to use it by the end of the second or the beginning of the third act. You can't just show something and then have it not pay off in some way. And that's why screenwriting is very difficult, is because everything a character says or shows or does has to pay off in some way. I've had a lot of people put things into screenplays or say, hey, why don't we, use this device to get us to a certain point, and then, from there we'll move on. And I'll say, okay, but how does that device pay off later on? And they're like, oh, it doesn't, And I'll say, well, no, it needs to. And they say, well, in real life, random things happen, and we're not doing real life, we're doing the vision. So getting your cast and crew there, it does take a certain amount of confidence, and it does take and listen, I'm not saying any of this is easy. Directing is one of those things where if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. So if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I want to be a director, but I don't always know where I'm going, or I'm not as confident in leading a crew, that's understandable, because that's going to be most people. So you do have to find your way of getting to that point. And again, animation may be a great way to get around that, to tell your story. For those who want to actually direct people, I think we're not always going to be confident. There's going to be experimentation as well. And listen, pre-production is for experimenting, for trying out different things, seeing if they work, seeing if they tie together. You storyboard it, you create concept art, and that's a lot of where your confidence will come from, because it's already been worked out. You can just show it to your cast and crew and say, this is what we're doing, this is what we're going for. You've had conversations with your screenwriter, with your director of photography, with your lighting person already ahead of time, saying this is the goal. So they're all working with you to get there. So if you're a new director, or if you're just doing a low budget thing where a bunch of friends show up and volunteer on the day and they're like, what are we doing? Then I understand why that would be a bit more frustrating. But if it's worked out ahead of time, and especially, like I said, in storyboards and in script notes and in concept art, then a lot of that work is done already. It just comes down to how do we do it, and showing up and taking the pre-planned steps to get there. Having said that, the other part of being a director is understanding that you are not always going to get the result you think on the day. So you do have to be able to improvise. You still have to have a clear idea of where things are going, but maybe the storyboards, the way that they're planned out, the location doesn't quite work that way. You look through the lens and you go, it's supposed to look like this, but it doesn't, and it's not working. And so we got to make an adjustment. We got to move the camera over here, or change the lights, or dress the set in a different way. Or maybe it's a location and it starts to rain, and it's all these different things can happen, and you have to improvise. So being a director, again, is having enough confidence that you know how to get to that vision, even if the initial plan doesn't work out. And then the same happens when you get into post-production, into editing. Maybe an actor doesn't quite perform the way that you saw it in your head, but they gave you something better, and you've got to work with that. Or maybe a certain improvised moment happened, or maybe something happened during the shoot where the actor gave you something you weren't expecting. And your vision is never going to turn out 100% how you saw it in your head. And that's a good thing, because what I've also discovered, and this has happened through my writing my own and that sort of thing, something seems good up here, and then it's not in real life. So you have to make sure that you are getting that core, what do I want to say, value, that core theme, that the heart of your movie is there, but you have to improvise and adjust to make sure that that it gets out there in a way that's entertaining and useful to your audience. So yeah, again, it's not an easy task. And if you're an introvert, there are ways of doing it that way. You can still communicate if you're an introvert. And I think the point made in the introvert video was not so much introvert doesn't mean you can't talk to people and express ideas. It just means that it doesn't come naturally for you. So you have to prepare for it. It takes energy, where extroverts, like I'm an extrovert, kind of thrive on interaction and thrive on problem solving on the spot and that sort of thing. And that's a good thing too. There's always a way to your vision. And you have to understand, like Clint Eastwood said, a man's got to know his limitations. You have to understand your limitations and how to, and your strengths. But there are many roads to accomplishing what you want. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I could go on, but I want to make this a short video. As you can see, you'll probably notice that I'm wearing the same shirt because I'm recording a bunch of videos at the same time. I got a bunch of stuff to say, and then I'm going to get to work because I have a lot of my own projects to start in 2021, including finishing the Quantum Terror. I did a video about that. I'm disheveled. I'm having to clean things up. This is coming down. There's boxes everywhere. It's ridiculous. So thanks for watching, and keep making your content, and I will be back with more videos soon.